Hi guys, and welcome back to part 3 of the Vampire build, EDF. I'm going to turn that into a cockpit. It's just the right size. So I'm going to carve it, and once I've carved it, I'm going to try squeezing the bottle over it, as I've done in the past. It's going to be a bit small. Whether it'll work or not, I don't know, but it's got to be worth trying. A bit of fun whittling. Let's get on with it. What I thought I'd do is just sort of try and trace the side view onto a piece of paper and transfer it from there. Save photocopying it, you know. So what have we got? Got a line down there, got a line around. Okay, that's the rough top view. Might want to come down a bit to the centre line, mind you, which is about there. Okay, didn't take long at all actually. I've stuck on some relief here to try and get some relief on the moulding, and then I can try and fill in with paint to get sort of a framework going on. But yeah, there you go. So now all I've got to do is find a bottle, jam it in there and put the heat on and see if I can pull it over. If not, I'll just go to plan B. You can always go to plan C, which is where you hollow it out, stick it on and paint it silver, of course. Anyway, I'm going to find a plastic bottle now. It didn't work. I made the mistake of not heating up the bottom first to shrink it down tight, and the whole thing moved forward and it all went horribly pear-shaped. There you can see a rough cockpit there, but very rough. No good. So I have to move on to plan B. I'm just pinning a magnet on the front, and I've got 2 bits of brass tube here. One is just the right size. Now I've lost one of the magnets. See if I can pick it up. There we go. So I've got this one here, so I'll just sharpen the end like this, get it as pointy as I can, and clip in this very carefully, just turning it in. Now let's just try and lift that out. That's not bad. Pretty flush. Now all I have to do is transfer this magnet position to the model. Right, let's try it. There we go. It's only a lightweight magnet, but it'll do the job quite nicely. So what I plan to do now is just to put a little dowel in the back, just small, cocktail stick size, just to peg it in and hold the back end down. So it's going to slide in like that onto the dowel, and then it'll just pull itself forward to close that up. That's good. So yeah, get yourself a little bit, keep these little bits of brass tube because you never know when they're going to come in handy. I finished the scalloping, and I've placed a piece of paper, I've routed the cable up and placed a piece of paper in front of the intake. I don't know if you probably see that, to try and reinstate the ring around the bottom of the motor and guide the air in. So I feel better that that is there now. That's just CA'd in around. So the fuselage is finished. That's done. Apart from fitting the radar gear, of course. On that strength, I'm just looking at the servos here for the ailerons. I'm thinking probably place it about there. Keep it quite a long way forward, you know, CG wise. I'm thinking place the servo there and fairly short control run for the block in here. And then I've ordered some very fine wire coming that I can extend this down into the fuselage, so I can't fit this until it arrives, which will be in a couple of days. And I'm not sure how I'm going to fit the servo, whether I put a little plate in there and just glue it in. It's the sort of easiest thing at the end of the day. And then just put a couple of strips of wood across here, just there, and then a little cross one, and then I can tissue up around it, something a little bit heavier than that. Started tissue covering, started with the tailplane, just to get my hand in, as you do. I'm going to give it another spray of water because there's some wrinkles in that one which I don't like the look of. They might come out. Spray it with water as much as you want. Elevator looks okay, so I'm not worried about that. Spray it down. Then I have an idea. First of all, I'm just using on this PVA and watered down, about 50-50, maybe less. And I'm just going to try putting this on wet, which is going to be fun. I fully imagine I'm going to have to pull it all off and start again. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use my finger here just to run a load of PVA in. I'm just going to do the bottom half of the fuselage and maybe a little bit of the nose, maybe all the nose. We'll see. The bottom half of it anyway. Round there. And that's a bit sort of bit of a jumbled area, that one. Put that in there. And there, just, oops, wrong one. Just along there, around there a bit. But this is going to be an experiment because I'm going to wet it, because there's so many curves going on here that it's going to be probably quite tricky to get it to work. So I just thought it might be a bit of fun just to wet it and see what happens. So here's the tissue, here's my spray. Thing is with tissue, when it gets wet, it gets very easy to rip, but we'll see how we get on. So nothing is glued on the fuselage, it is the periphery. That's got to go in there, isn't it? Same to that side, down a bit close to the edge on this side. Fully expecting to have to just rip the lot off, but see how we get on. Not looking too bad. You can put it on in strips, do it however you like really, but I like to try and get it on in one go if I can. It needs to be pushed in there a little bit. couple of wrinkles there. I might pull out, give it a go. Okay, that side's not too bad at all. Now this side, it is bad. I'm going to give it another spray of water just to try and make it a little bit more pliable. When you've only got a small area of tissue to shrink, you're very unlikely to get the wrinkles out. So you've got to try and get as many out as you can. I could do it in strips around there, and that side's gone on quite nicely. This side's not so good. Probably because I probably pulled it over from this side, and unless it wasn't as wet, which I don't think it was actually. Well, there you go. Not too bad. So what I'm going to do now is just mix up a little bit more PVA and just run it through the tissue. While it's still damp. So I'll quickly mix up a little bit more PVA and just run it through the tissue while it's still damp, and it'll soak through, because once the PVA starts to dry, it becomes impervious to water. You can use a small paintbrush if you want to. It's probably better than using your finger, which isn't quite small enough, delicate enough. So I wanted to do it as sort of a grey colour, like a sea fire, but I haven't got any, so I thought black would look cool along with some yellow sort of highlights. So once that PVA starts drying, you can't put any more through the tissue, so I'll just leave that like that for the minute. There we go. Probably how not to do it, but it's the job done. Won't take long to dry either, so I'll just put a block there. There we go. Bit of fun, guys. Put a bit more paper on the inside to complete the inside. It's stiffened it up quite a lot actually, but now I can put the cable in and it won't push through the tissue, so quite pleased with that. This will have to go over the edge, so we'll do that. I'll have to glue that down before I can trim that off. For a wing up, shall we? See how it's looking. Yeah, that's going to glue. So I want to see what I'm going to glue. If that plate glues onto these, that area there, it'll glue onto these stringers a bit. It's not the main thing. And then underneath, when I assemble it, I'm going to put the wings in, glue the carbon rod in, and tissue this area separately afterwards, after I've glued it on, and I can tissue it from there all the way up over onto this ridge here, which we'll take another coat of tissue, no problem. What's happening with the nose, Ben? Could glue a little bit more around. Look at that, nearly went all the way around. If I take that all the way around, give that edge a sand and then put a piece on the top. The other option is just to paint the nose. Could paint the nose yellow actually. But what I could do is, I've got to tissue it to get rid of the grain, so I'll tissue it, sand it, and if necessary spray the nose yellow. I want to put some sort of yellow striping on the wings and maybe on the fins. In fact, I could do the entire fin yellow, couldn't I? Like that. It's not a real colour scheme. Let's just have a look at that. That was yellow, that glue's there. Thing is, I don't want to make it too difficult to see, so that sticks out just in front there like that. Look pretty cool in yellow actually. This area here I'm going to spray yet again. A bit heavy-handed. Just going to take off a little bit of tissue, a little bit of wet with the tissue there. Okay, so I'll mix up some more glue, tidy up this end and the nose, and then get another bit of tissue out and sort of lay it over this bit here. I'll lay it over wet as well, and got these areas here, of course. Okay, I'm going to give that a little spray just to help it around the corners. Don't worry about the wrinkles. That bit there will have to be cut a dart in that, so I'm going to end up with a great big tissuey lump. There we go. Just get it on and you can clean it all up later. What you can do is rip around and it blends in better, but it's going to be largely sanded all over anyway, so let's put that on there. Okay, might be better if I did these front bits first, otherwise I'm going to be handling it quite a lot. You can lick your finger, stop it sticking. Yeah, let's just cut these bits in. Damp it, but why not, eh? Helps to get the wrinkles out a bit. So I'm going to put this, oops, put this, it looks like it needs a bit more glue on it actually. So, put that over that edge and up the front. It's a bit close to the edge. Should just stick, I think. I'm lucky. It's close. Okay. Be careful with that. You can very gently place some warm air on that if you want to speed up the process. And then I'll trim that and just take it over the top edge. Trim around that later on, it's dry, and we'll cut a bit for the top. I can't put this on until I've trimmed around the top, but I'm going to lay it on wet, and I'm just going to, should go around reasonably well, I think. When it's wet, you can like stretch the tissue very slightly in directions, so it's a good idea to put it on wet. Right, I'm going to do that, and when that's done, I'll come back to you trimmed up. So I've finished the fuselage, just sprayed it with water, so we'll see how that comes out in a minute. But I thought I would cover the hatch. After all, I'm just going to have to make the cockpit fit when it arrives, so I carved the little cockpit out, as you know, and I've sent it up to my good friend up north, that is Nick of the Barren Flights, because he has got a video he's recently published on a little vacuum former that he bought, a dental vacuum former, which I've never heard of, and he's going to have a go at forming me a cockpit, so that'll be good. So I've sent him the balsa wood plug, and I've just sprayed this wet, and we'll see how it comes out. But in the meanwhile, I'm going to crack on and cover the bits that I can cover, and this is one of them. And I'm doing it in two halves because this tissue doesn't seem to want to, it's not too keen to bend in different directions. Some tissues are a little bit more forgiving than others, but this one seems to be not. If you want to stretch it out, use a little nail file just to pull the tissue up over the stringer or former, whatever it is you're trying to do. And I'll turn it around underneath when it's a little bit drier and around the front, so I'll just let that go off. Or here's a tip for you. You can speed the drying process up with a hot air dryer. Be careful with damp tissue. We just gently play a little bit of warm air on that from a distance. Happy with that little wrinkle there. Just going to try and pull it out a bit. This will be the inside of the cockpit. I'm not sure how I'm going to finish it yet. I did remove the pilot from the donor plane, which I hope to reuse. So we'll see what size the cockpit is when it comes. Let's just pop that to one side. Put the weight on it by way of the battery. Good. That's for the other side. I was just looking at the fins thinking, shall I cover them in yellow or make them like two-tone black and yellow? I think they look rather nice in yellow. So I've got some yellow tissue here. It's quite old. It's got some, I don't know, markings in it. It's not very thick tissue, but it is a colour, so I'm going to just cut some off of here. Now if I use PVA, it's going to warp this, but because it's glued to the tailplane, it should pull it flat again, and it also sits inside the boom, so any warping I think will be controllable. So I think I will use watered down PVA. Could use Crit Stick if I had some, which I haven't, so I think I'll use watered down PVA. Now I only want to go to the line shown here because I don't want the balsa to be tissued over, because I want to stick it. So I go, I think that line was just below actually, let's just make sure. Yeah, a couple of millimetre below, so I can do it to that line and I'll just stick it on like that, perhaps weigh it down. And I think I'll use a slightly stronger mix of PVA, because if it's too wet, it's going to bring the grain up and do horrible things to the balsa. I have weighed every component actually. I'm just curious to see how much weight everything puts on, so I could go just around the edge here, but I think actually I won't. There is a section here I want to cut out, again because I wanted the glue balsa to balsa when I put the tailplane in, so I won't put any too much glue on there. So that's going to go just to that line. Let's smooth it up. You can see it's warping already. I love the way grain shows through on tissue. It's lovely. Let that set. See, it's twisting like a good one, but it should come back when I do the other side. I'll try that. this one to that line. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut around here just enough to turn it over the top, and I'll do the other side and then cut it just enough to turn over the top, and I'll have a nice yellow fin. There is a little aero modelling trick you can do. If this wasn't wedged into the tail fin, you could put a piece of balsa let in this way, and that grain opposes this grain and it stops it from doing this, which say won't matter because it will be pinched in the boom. I did think about doing just that. I didn't think it was going to be really necessary, so you get the gist of it, guys. I'll come back to you soon. On the tail fin there is the red, white and blue flash, the RAF. Unfortunately this one here, I left the weight on it to get it flat, and there was a bit of dirt on the weight and it's left a weight impression, but it's also unfortunate it's on the outside. So I'm going to try and make this flash a little bit bigger than it is normally. So anyway, the red stripe goes nearer the front, so what I've got is a bit of white tissue, bit of red, bit of blue, and what I'm going to do is to make it up on here. So I've got that there. I'm going to put a bit of glue using my Mark 1 finger to apply. Let's make two, shall we? I think this should work. Glue. Put the first one down, it's the easy bit. It's not sticking very well, is it? I spoke too soon, didn't I? Let's leave that down a minute. Just wondering if a spray of water will hold it flat. Might do. So as I can move it, let's actually do it on a different bit of polythene. Okay. The best thing to use here would be glue stick, I think. I haven't got any, so this should work. And then the red stripe will go here with an equal gap between the two, and then I can cut it. This red is very thin tissue actually. Gap looks pretty equal to me. And then when it's dry, I'll just cut that square out, drop it on the fin. Another one. And for the roundels, eventually I'll do the same thing. Just cut them out of tissue. It's job done, nice and quick and simple and light. So I just put that somewhere to dry a minute. Won't take long, I wouldn't have thought. I was going to keep it on the plastic, but I'll cut them out and stick them on there, then they'll be made. What about sticking on a rudder, a fine black line to simulate the rudder, or even I could pen it on, but it's likely to bleed. Let's just have a look, see what we're looking at rudder wise. Yeah, it's a pretty big rudder actually. I'll leave that hanging out there, and then I can see exactly where it goes. Okay, might be a bit heavy, but it's the idea, isn't it? So we're looking at about 3 centimeters in. Let's do this one while that dries a little bit. I might have to cut another bit of black as well. Okay, it's not perfect, a long way from perfect. That one's slightly better. So let's have a look at the coloured bits. The benefit of sticking it to white first is that the colours of the blue and the red show through. If you stick it just on the yellow or even on a darker colour, you just won't see the colours. Now, these will have to be trimmed to, that's the inside. I can afford to go a little bit bigger. Tailplanes on the inside, that's there. Let's cut them to 4 centimeters deep, maybe 3. 4 might be overkill. 3, let's go for 3. Which is about the width of this. A bit more, let's go for there. And there we are. There's our red, white and blues, which I'll stick on there. You can wrap the red around the corner a little bit if you wanted. Okay, I'll let that dry off a little bit. Oh, by the way, I've done the booms, covered the booms in black. That's the outside. This one goes on the outside. Red facing forward. Something like that. About there. What I'm going to do, I'm going to trim this like that. Let's pop them in the boom, shall we, to see how it all looks. That's the port one. There you go. That looks stunning, Cliff. Absolutely stunning. Nice. Oops. Okay, I think we better let that dry. Now I want to add some more yellow to the aeroplane. The wings can have some yellow on. Just wondering if like a yellow band around the boom looks sort of purposeful, doesn't it?
Just for you, Cliff, I'm going to let that heat up a little bit, wait for the plastic to bow. Go on, that's starting to bow now. I want to bow a little bit more. There we go. Look at that.